Welcome to our today event, Roma Feminist and Queer Perspectives, Performance, Scholarship, Activism. This is the fourth series of events as part of our Queer Feminist Currents complex, which has been funded by Techne and the Arts and Humanities Research Council and supported by the Center for Research in Arts and Creative Exchange at the University of Roehampton. Previous events have included Queer Futurity with Jack Halberstam, Feminismos Antipatriarcales and Poetic Disobedience with Latina feminist scholars, artists, and activists, Afriquia with Mojisola De Bayo in conversation with other scholars, artists, and activists who have explored the intersections of Blackness, Africanness, and queer. And some of the sessions have been recorded and are available to view on our website, which is queerfeministcurrents.wordpress.com. You have the link on the chat box. We will then have, after this event, we will have other two sessions and a final symposium. Today and tomorrow's events will focus on Roma queer and feminist activism, performance and scholarship in Europe with a transnational perspective. And the events will reflect on Roma strategies and alliances, including those between Roma and non-Roma people across borders and disciplines in the current climate of heightened heteropatriarchal nationalisms. The organizers of this event series are Dr. Ioana Ziman, third-year undergraduate student Lena Fingugarbi, and PhD candidates Claire Daly and myself, Giulia Casalini. We are all based at Roehampton School of Arts in the Drama, Theatre and Performance Department. And whilst none of us is Roma, Ioana has published the monograph Staging Citizenship, Roma Performance and Belonging in EU Romania, which is based on a long-term ethnographic fieldwork. Lena has worked with Roma communities in Romania, and Claire and myself have led a series of reading groups in order to engage with Roma scholarship and activism. During today and tomorrow's event, we warmly encourage everyone to participate in the discussion sessions, and especially we encourage Roma voices to come to the front. I will now pass the floor to Ioana Ziman, who will introduce today's special guest, Mihaela Drăgan, who is joining us from Bucharest.
It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Mihaela Drăgan, who is a multidisciplinary artist with an education in theatre, lives in Bucharest and works in several other countries. In 2014, she founded the Giuvlipen theatre company, for which she's an actress and playwright, together with other Roma actresses. Since 2016, she has been working in Berlin as an actress for Maxim Gorki Theatre, Heimathafen Neukölln, and Theater Aufbau Kreuzberg. She's also a Theatre of the Oppressed trainer, working with Roma women on their specific issues in Romania and with refugee girls in Germany. She was one of the 6 finalists for the 2017 New York Gilder Koigner International Theatre Award, which acknowledges the exceptional theatre work of 20 women around the world. In 2020, she was once again nominated for this award, and she was a recipient of the Special Award of the League. In 2018, Drăgan was a resident artist in Hong Kong at Parasite Contemporary Art Center, where she developed Roma Futurism, a project that lies at the intersections of Roma culture, technology, and witchcraft. Her performance, Roma Futurism, has been showcased in art spaces, such as the Museum of Contemporary Art in Belgrade, Futuroma, a collateral exhibition at the Venice Biennale, the Critical Romani Studies Conference at Central European University in Budapest, and the Romanian Cultural Institute in London. She was acknowledged by PEN World Voices International Play Festival, New York 2018, as one of the 10 most respected dramatists in the world. In 2019, she was one of the playwrights selected for the acclaimed Royal Court Theatre International Summer Residency in London, where she wrote a science fictional play about a utopian society of Roma witches who control technology and fight neo-fascist politics in Europe. In 2021, she exhibited her first video installation, The Future is a Safe Place Hidden in My Braids, a work divided into 3 short films that depict futuristic rituals for healing the transgenerational trauma of Roma people, whilst projecting a safe future for the community. So please join me in very warmly welcoming Mihaela Drăgan.
Thank you very much, Ivana. Thank you very much for this introduction, such a long biography. Like, I feel embarrassed, like next time I will make it shorter. Thank you very much for having me and for organizing this event. I see some known faces here in our Zoom group. Hello, everyone. Nice to see you and to meet you, the new ones. Yes, so as I don't work in academia and I'm an artist, I will speak freely about my work with the Roma Feminist Theater Giuvlipen in Romania, a theater company that I founded in 2014 together with other Roma actresses. And we felt this deep need to have such a platform because the context wasn't so favorable for us, for the Roma actors. I don't know if you know, but in Romania, we have a very developed network of minorities theater. We have Hungarian, German, even a Jewish state theater, but there is no representation or cultural representation for Roma minority, the second largest. I think there are still people that are, should we wait for them or, because I see, or.
Don't worry, we are letting them in.
Okay, because like sometimes it's popping on my screen. Admit.
Don't admit, no worries.
Okay. So yes, this was the context in which we founded the group. We are a pioneering group with an anti-racist, feminist agenda here in Bucharest, in Romania. And as I said, like, we felt pressured by the need to self-representing ourselves, as there is no institution to represent us in Romania. Even as I said, there are so many institutions for the other minorities here, but not for the Roma, the second largest minority here. So we, of course, like, because Roma art has always been marginalized, we felt that we are very stereotyped in the productions that we saw on other theaters or in the media discourse. So we wanted to create a Roma contemporary theater with a feminist and anti-racist agenda, as I said. And I would like to share, because I prepared the PowerPoint presentation. Just a moment. Yes, I prepared a presentation with pictures and videos from our theater show, so you can also visualize the things which I'll talk about it. Can you see it? No.
No.
Okay, I'll try again. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Good. All right. First of all, I want to explain a little bit the what does it mean Giuvlipen, because actually we try to invent the word feminism in Romani language. As many times we feel as witches on the stage, and we use words as spells and incantations. We invented this word Giuvlipen. Basically is coming from Giuvli, which in Romani language means woman, and we added the suffix ipen that is usually added for the collective nouns. So this is what came out to So this is how we called our theater company. I know that many people, they have problem to pronounce it because it's in Romani, but we are fine with this. So basically, the aim of our theater company is to talk from an intersectional perspective about Roma identity, and also to explore new, more experimental ways to create Roma art, as Roma art is always seen as very traditional, very folkloric. And when we founded the group, we aim to produce contemporary Roma theater. And we don't usually like the people who put us in different boxes and try to define as a social theater or activism or so on. And we don't really like all these definitions, because it's coming from this idea that Roma problem is a social problem, that Roma problematic, is Roma people, so, and we also think that all the art is political. So we like to say that we like to create responsible Roma art, and we define us as contemporary theater, and we reject all other definitions. And we can talk later more about this. We also aim in the last years to develop a Roma dramaturgy that brings to the fore an alternative to the way in which Roma people are portrayed in the artistic discourse. And this is how I started to write, because there was no Roma dramaturgy at the moment in which we founded the group, or there was very stereotypical representations in the Romanian dramaturgy. So this is also an important work that we do in our theater company. Many times we are doing writing workshops. We invite playwrights to train other Roma people. And I will start with my first theater show that was called Del Duma, Tell Them About Me, and I will talk about the themes that this show has explored. It was 2013, and it was the first theater play I wrote. Now, when I'm looking back to that moment, and every time when I'm reading again the play, for me seems very less radical. even so, the public at that time found it like that. It was a show about early marriages in Roma communities, and this is one of the themes that we reach in our theater company. Del Duma in Romani language means she speaks. And I interviewed different Roma women who had to deal with early marriage. From them, I heard so many stories that inspire me and impress me, because I don't come from a traditional Roma family, and I really want to point this thing that I know that people think that we Roma people, we are an homogeneous group, and no, actually there is a lot of diversity among our community. And I also want to point the thing that early marriage is not a Roma practice, is not something that is part of our tradition. And it's still happening in traditional community, as it's happening everywhere in the world. And of course, there are so many Roma feminists that are fighting against. And basically, Del Duma tells the story.
Sorry,
Yes?
can I ask you, can you press play? Because now we can see some gray boxes that are basically the Zoom boxes. If you press play in the slide, maybe they will disappear.
Now? like that.
They're still there. Okay. Do
Can
you
you?
you have a gray? There is a box that is open just on your screen, right?
Yes.
In the middle. Is it something that you can move?
This Zoom bear. And should I move it?
Is it something that you can move or? That
I
one
can't
was
make
fine.
it.
There is
I
another
don't
one.
think I can make it disappear.
No, that is fine. That was fine where it was. There is another one below that is quite in the middle of the image.
I don't see it. Is
Okay.
this one the green one that is saying you are screen sharing?
No. That's
because I don't see another one. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's in the middle.
That's
oh my
fine.
God, I'm sorry.
No worries.
On my laptop there is nothing. I'm sorry. I'm not the most technical person, even if I will talk to you later about the techno witches.
It's fine.
Go
ahead.
All right. I'm sorry. So, oh my, I don't know what I did. Now it's not. Okay, I have to click. So yes, the Duma was a one-woman show that talked about all these real stories of Roma women who had to deal with early marriage, and it was very interesting because like I was touring this show in many Roma communities and villages, and this is a very important thing for us in our theater company as Roma people don't have access to culture in general. Many of them living even here in Bucharest, like there is a big Roma neighborhood, Ferentar, that is at the margins of the city. So it's very difficult for Roma people to come to be in our audiences. And this is why we have this practice. We go directly to them many times. And before the pandemic, we used to have a national tour through the communities and villages where the Roma people are living. Because this is the goal. This is also a goal of us. As mostly of our audiences are non-white Roma, we want and we talk for our community too. So we figure out since the beginning that this is a practice that we should adopt. And I'm so sorry that now that since the pandemic has started, we ended this project. But what I wanted to say is, like, many times after I performed the show, I had a conversation with the audience, with the people that were attending the show, and many times they started to start polemics and about this theme of early marriage. And I want to say again that I feel that I'm a privileged Roma person, and I don't live in a Roma community. I mean, I grew up in a Roma village with a big Roma community, but I had the privilege to get an education and not to be in a traditional Roma family. So I can't go in communities to give lessons. This is a thing that I always say, like, in my family, we don't practice early marriage, so I can't go in the communities to show them a performance about this topic and give them lessons like you should stop early marriage. No, because I'm not in that position. So many times I just left people to discuss. There were many times polemics between generations. I also want to explain a little bit about the practice, the history of the early marriage practice in Romania, coming from the times of the Roma slavery here, when the boyars, the owners, had the privilege, the right, yes, to use the enslaved Roma women bodies. So the parents just started to marry their children earlier and earlier in order to avoid this. And we can discuss more about this when we will talk more about the slavery in Romania, as this is another topic that is not discussed almost at all in the Romanian context. Yes. So basically, after this one woman show, Giuvlipen was created. I contacted other Roma actors in Bucharest. I figure out that there is no representation, so I wanted to build a group, an independent theater that we can call it a Roma theater. And our first show was called Gajo Dildo. Gajo is a term that we use for non-Roma people. And dildo, I suppose you already know. What does it mean? So it's a game of words that is coming from the movie Gajo Dildo by Tony Gatliff. I don't know if you watch it, but is representing the love between a Roma woman and a non-Roma man. And the Roma woman is hypersexualized in the movie, is presented as very wild, very passionate, very sexual, very exotified by the non-Roma man who gets in love with her. So basically, it was a cultural reference and an answer to that movie. And because the show actually talked about exactly about the same topic, about the hypersexualization of Roma women, or the stereotypes that are around our sexuality, our bodies. And for the first time, like we created this Roma lesbian character inspired by a real person from here, from Bucharest. It was her story actually that we fictionalized. And it was like, I always remember that moment as a big controversy from different audiences, but I will tell you about it. We opened Bucharest LGBT Pride with this show in 2015, I think. Yes. And yes, it was a lot of controversy because we were very attacked by Roma conservative men talking about this kind of issues, and especially because of the creation of this Roma lesbian character, but also was a lot of let's say concerns from the LGBT community from Bucharest, which was not really connected with the Roma LGBT communities here. This is why we felt the need to, after every show, to put in contact Roma and non-Roma LGBT people, and we invited them after the show to have a conversation about the possibility to create more bridges between the both groups. It was a show, a cabaret show. we use always a lot of music in our shows because okay, okay, so in Romanian you'll not understand anything, but I promise you that the other trailers, they have subtitles in English. Yes. Yeah, that was Gajo Dildo, our first show. I'm very nostalgic now, thinking about it. And I also want to talk about a performance, because many times we are exploring a lot in performing arts and the boundaries between what we call theater and what we call performing arts. Yeah, they just get invisible. So this is an incantation to Saint Sarah-Kali. We have a saint in our Roma culture that is called Sarah-Kali, and there are so many legends around her. And there is also pilgrimage in the south of France every year in May, where Roma all over the world, they go and they bring her out from a cave. And as many times we feel that are rejected even by the church here in Romania. The church here in Romania also had Roma slaves as property during the slavery time, and they never apologized for this. So we felt that we have to reclaim back Saint Sarah-Kali and extend her protection to Roma people, and especially to Roma queer people. And we created this performance using poetry and prayers, and we mix it with texts from Jean Genet's texts on Angela Davis and Black Panthers, The Declared Enemy. And I remember about that period being very experimental for us, experimenting a lot and getting a lot of inspiration from Black feminists, reading a lot, basically our feminist practice developing in parallel with our art practice. And this was the church that we had in an art gallery for a few weeks. I don't remember, where we were opened to welcome everyone who needs the protection of Saint Sarah-Kali, everyone who feels rejected by the church institution. And I perform it with different people in very different places. Not here, we are in Berlin at a Roma gallery. I will just move to the next show, as this one is talking again by this early marriage topic that has obsessed us a lot in our productions, and again saying the real story of a girl who had to commit suicide in order to not get married. And we also try to provide context, because this is what non-Roma people know about us. Let's be honest, this is what they know about us. This is what you know about us until you don't educate yourself that in our communities, we are uneducated and we practice early marriage. And we always try to provide context. And in this show, basically, we show different perspectives of what pushed that girl to commit suicide. We talk about the segregation and the racism that the Roma children are facing in the Romanian schools. And about also the structural racism that push Roma people to stick together and to follow some practices that they call tradition.
Era așa, zici că era Sfânta Fecioară. Ura de rasă, Doamnă! Ăsta e cel mai mare păcat.
Nu-i asta, o copilă, să se gândească la moarte.
The show is called Who Killed Somna Grancea? This was the name of the girl, and basically we hoped that we honored her memory as she left a message before to die on the wall, and the message was, I am the school. Another theme that we try to bring it up to our audiences is the mental health and how the Roma people are more, how to say this in English, more favorable to deal with mental health issues as a group that is facing discrimination and oppression. In the last years, we also talk a lot about the transgenerational trauma of Roma people that we heritated through our DNA as any other oppressed group, community, and this is real, like the scientists proved this. You'll see later in another theater play. We talk also about the lack of accessing healthcare.
Dacă aș fi străznet, v-aș străzni, v-aș înneca. Dacă aș fi apă și v-aș săpa mormânt adânc, dacă aș fi sapă, dacă aș fi ștreang, v-aș spânzura, dacă aș fi spadă, v-aș străpunge, v-aș urmări, dacă aș fi glonț și v-aș ajunge. Dar eu, deși rămân ce sunt, o voce adâncă îmi murmură că sunt mai mult decât orice, căci eu sunt urât.
Yes. I will pass to one of my favorite shows that is called Urban Body. and again is a concert theater play because we use a lot of music in the performance, and we discuss in this theater show the relationship between a woman and her own body through the lenses of socioeconomic context defined by poverty, ghettoization, or structural racism. We fictionalize some stories that we researched. Basically, this is our art practice in Giuvlipen. We fictionalize everything. We don't really agree with exposing real story, real people names. We like to be connected with the Roma communities and their diversities, and this is why we are organizing theater forums in many communities, because this is inspiring us a lot and keeps us connected to the realities of the Roma people in different contexts, in different cities here in Romania. And we like to fictionalize everything that we document. This is a practice that we feel comfortable with it in our group. And urban body is talking about from sex work until the segregated Roma saloons in the Roma hospitals, is talking about the body as property, body in the context of maternity. What does it mean to have a gender racialized body? And we work with a Romanian theater director for this theater show, and is very physical. Everything, like, we don't have a realistic way to say the stories. Everything is showed through movement. And as I said at the beginning, we like to explore more experimental ways to create theater. And many times we like to pass all these boundaries of classical theater.
Disclaimer. Orice asemănare cu realitatea este voită. Orice realitate este discutabilă. Orice discuție este polemică. Orice polemică este subiectivă. Orice subiect este personal. Orice corp este personal. Orice corp este o persoană. Orice persoană are dreptul de a ști, de a investiga, de a explora, de a decide ce face cu corpul ei. Mă iau în brațe și mă simt și să mă cară peste corpul ăsta care simte, care vibrează, care e cu mine din totdeauna, sempre totdeauna și care e scrisă istoria mea. Historia mea, historia mea, historia lui, historia mea, 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 historia
Julia, can you, like, now when I'm sharing the videos, can they be seen, or it's still this box in the middle?
It's seen, but there are still all the boxes, but I have shared the link to the shows and the trailers in the chat. So if people want to see some trailers again later on, they can check it on your website maybe.
Yes.
I've made a story and I tagged you on Instagram so you can see how it looks like.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
can I check? Just oh my god, like I don't know why, like let's see.
Well, the stripe to the right is our Zoom.
So bad.
The stripe on the right is our Zoom faces, so you can easily probably just collapse it. But the other box is a mystery.
Ah, okay. I will try to collapse. I don't know. I'm sorry. Like maybe like I need like my laptop needs to be updated or something. Cause
no, I think it's Zoom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But don't worry.
Next time we have to meet in person, everyone here, yes. So we can have a whole experience. Yes, I want to share with you that special moment that happened in 2018, I think, when for the first time in Romania, a Roma theater show was part of a state theater repertoire. This was the first time when we moved from the independent level, that means a lot of precarity, to the state level, when in collaboration with the Jewish State Theater from Bucharest, we premiered this theater show about Roma Holocaust. It's called Kalitrash, as Kalitrash is one of the terms that Roma people gave and described their experiences in the Roma camps during the Holocaust. So Kalitrash, Poraimos, Samudaripen are the terms that we use for the Roma genocide. The story is adapted from one of our Roma authors, a survivor of Holocaust, and we adapted his story as a young Roma person in the camps. Like, for the people who doesn't know, during the fascist regime of Antonescu, who collaborated with Hitler, Roma people were deported in Transnistria, in the north of what we call now the north of Ukraine. And at that moment, there was no art representation about the Roma Holocaust. And anyway, the Romanian state took so long to admit that there was a Roma genocide. Like very, very recently, I think 20 years ago or less than 20 years ago, the former president of Romania apologized for the Roma genocide. So this was a very important moment for us in our theater company. It was the first time when we showed one of our performances in a state theater, because like in the last years, somehow we had our own public, our own audiences, many times formed by the progressive people from here, from Bucharest, the leftists or the activists. And that was the first time when we penetrated an institution, a state theater. And since then we have militated for the founding of a Roma state theater in Romania. We still didn't get to any conclusion, even if we every year we try to reach local authorities, the cultural authorities, to talk to them about this need. Like, we have Roma professional actors, we have productions, we just need the space, a building that we can call a Roma theater, because this is our biggest problem. We always have to find solutions, stages for our theater shows. Now during the pandemic, it was very difficult to find collaborations. So hopefully, if not us, the next generations of Roma actors will have a Roma state theater in Romania. I think it's a duty, taking into consideration all of our history here. So talking about the history of Roma people, it was also one of our goals to produce knowledge about this. The story of the play, as you can also find it in the novel of the survivor. The name of the author actually is Valerii Căstănescu, and was very beautiful because, like, after we premiered the show, he was very happy to see the story of his family basically on the stage. And because the story is about how a group of Roma circus artists and theater makers, they are deported in Transnistria in the Roma camps. And a very short time after the premiere, the author and the survivor, he died, and we were very happy that we still got to know him. Yes. We'll pass now from a historical topic to Sexodrome, one of our latest production. That was also based on a playwriting workshop that was called Politics in Private. And I think it was the first time when we talk about very personal, intimate stories. Even if at the beginning I said that we don't really like to share real stories, and many times to fictionalize, that was a very fragile and at the same time very powerful, this is how I felt, a theater play in which we shared and we talk about many personal, intimate experiences in connection with the Me Too movement and how the movement had no impact in Romania. So basically we shared our experiences as actresses, as actors in a system of power, where many times the actors are seen as especially the women who are working in theater, in the cinema, we have so many experiences, power relationships with theater directors, producer, or so on. So this theater show talk about the abuses that we never discuss about them in our industry, or we just started to discuss. Here is my colleague Nicoleta, one of the youngest voices in our theater company, and actually the only one who is not professional. And I want to share this thing with you, like many times after our shows, people are coming to us and are asking us if we are professional because we are so talented, and many times we feel so embarrassed because they don't really think that we can be professional, that we graduated a theater university, and they think that our talent is pure and is not work too. And I think, like at the beginning, we had this somehow obligativity to work only with professional actors, and after we discovered young Roma people as Nicoleta, without the privilege to attend the university and being so talented actually, and she's also a rapper. We are just now, the next weeks we'll be launching a rap album together. So I think, like in the last 2-3 years in Giuvlipen, forming young Roma talented people became our mission, because we don't care anymore about diploma, you know, like there are so many talented young Roma that they don't have the privilege to go to university. So we want them to attend our trainings, theater trainings, and we try to involve them as much as possible. So this is Nicoleta, I'm very proud of her. And of course, like we talk about the Roma queer people and their experiences. Sexodrome actually was again a title that came as a game of words, as we have this expression in Romani. As we have this expression in Romani language, then laciodrom, that means have a safe journey. And sexodrome wishes to have a safe journey, in a safe sexual journey, like in all these in our lives, and also as having, being a woman in this industry. I will show you the trailer.
Apropo, cercetătorii au dovedit că oamenii care experimentează durerea timp îndelungat, așa cum ar fi sclavia sau Holocaustul, o transmit mai departe prin ADN-ul lor.
It's already 6, and I want to very, very fast, I want to talk also about Roma futurism, because afterwards we want to open the floor for questions in the case we have questions. So I wanted to talk to you about Roma futurism. Is a concept, is a cultural aesthetic that I developed during my residency in Hong Kong, as Ioana said when she introduced me. I was in Hong Kong in a residency, and I've researched magical practices, because I wanted to develop this concept of Roma futurism that is the intersection between Roma culture and history with technology and witchcraft. Why witchcraft? People used to ask me, because witchcraft is a practice of Roma women, and yes, we have many Roma women practicing witchcraft, and identifying with the figure of the witch is a political feminist act by itself. And I think in the last years, many marginalized people identify under this umbrella. Many times on Instagram, I see queer people who identify as witches, and I think what we call witchcraft, and historically witchcraft for us, for our community, was a resistance practice. And now working with the Roma witches from Bucharest in many of my projects, many times I see how they are always seen as very powerful women, how politicians are afraid of them. They always perform political spells, curses. Like, I remember when at the European elections 2 years ago, they came in the front of Romanian parliament and performed a ritual, so only the leftist parties to get elected in the European Parliament. And they also prayed for the Romanian political situation. It was very funny, because like very, very soon afterwards, our MP was got in the prison for corruption. So yes, this is an image. These are images from Roma Scene, The Age of the Witch. Is a Roma futuristic play. I really hope that Roma futurism will become a movement and will be taken over by other Roma artists, because me as a Roma artist, like all these years during working on our productions, I felt this pressure, as we are the only theater group only Roma theater group in Romania, we feel the pressure to talk about all the topics that they are not covered, about the starting from slavery, Holocaust, the history of Roma people who is not recognized and known, until the racism that we confront nowadays. So I felt that there is no space for imagining us in the future, and it's the moment to create art about Roma future. Of course, like I've been reading a lot, and I took a lot of inspiration from Afrofuturism, Xenofuturism, Galfuturism. I was also impressed by the way in which witches were seen in Hong Kong almost as scientists, and everyone had a master, a witch there that they would consult, in contradiction with how Roma Romanian witches are seen here, how stigmatized are there, and yes, very negatively seen. So this is a theater play that I wrote after Hong Kong. I was in London. Actually, I was once in London at the Royal Court Theatre in a residency, where I wrote this theater play about the 6 techno witches, 6 Roma witches who are controlling technologies using witchcraft. And the story is like they are hacking Brexit, they steal money from the Brexit party to give it to immigrants, and they create this utopic society that is called Roma Scene, the age of the witch, where they invent, they are working a lot on ultra technological tools, and they are in control with their own destiny as Roma person, and yes, hacking neo-fascist parties in Europe. And we also use a virtual scenography. How is scenography in English? Stage design. Yes. 3D. Yeah. 3D projections. It was also a theater show that we created in collaboration with another Romanian state theater here. Oh no, I have a trailer, but it's not good. I have one. It's a very good trailer of this show on YouTube. if you want to check it, because it's the show is very cinematographic and it's very beautiful filmed. It's not like you watch filmed theater. So yes, that's all about Roma futurism. I think I finished, as we have only 20 minutes. So if there are questions, I'll be happy to answer. If not, I just can't talk more, as I always talk too much. I hope you understood everything I said, as English is not my first language, and I don't care about the language of the colonizers to speak it perfectly. So if not, I'm to explain again.